Hi, Tony.
How are you, Leslie?
I'm fine. Ready to get going?
Sure.
Okay. According to an innovation survey conducted by CB Insights and Willis Tower Watson, Munich Re was voted most innovative by its peers, and I think you've gotten honors like that from some other surveys. Can you tell us more about your innovation playbook? What are a couple of the things Munich is doing that no one else is, particularly in regards to, say, build, invest, acquire, if that fits into the answer?
Well, to start us off, I guess we did a good job of fooling them, right? No. For innovation for us, we are a fairly old and stodgy company from the past. A lot, at least people think of us that way. But as we look at the industry, we've always been thought leaders, and we started to see some indications of change in the marketplace. This is several years back I'm going. And we made a decision that, you can take a look at what's going on and hide from it, stick your head in the sand, or embrace it, and literally, instead of change happening to you, let transformation be part of what we do. And that's kind of how we all started down this path. Innovation for Munich Re is across the board. First of all, we view it as both incremental and transformative. Not everybody's working on transformative innovation. Most people are working on the day-to-day things we can do better all the time. But we're also looking at the big things that could change the industry and how we can play there. So as a company, we don't really, at least I don't believe, innovation comes because you put a group of people together and say, go ahead and transform. I think you really have to start with the culture of the company and really get buy-in at every level of the organization and really make it a theme. It's part of how we talk to the organization all the time. It's how we set expectations for people. It's little things like dress code and work for your day and all the little things that are evident to people on a day-to-day basis that our company is changing the way we do things. So for us, it's a journey. It's about starting us off, but really taking a view from the top and reinforcing it all the way through. On the transformational side, we have a very small teams of people that are, if you want, tasked with trying to find those transformational things, but that just grows into then everybody looks at the fact that we are focusing on innovation, and then that leads to this transformational, the incremental piece, which is literally business unit by business unit, support function by support function. We look at innovation as something we don't want to we can't necessarily do ourselves. We think it's a little bit of what we can do internally, but there's a lot of partnering from the outside. And we think partnering is a very important part of this. First of all, it adds diversity of thought, and it forces us to exponentially change things and look at things differently. How we treat clients, how we talk to clients, that whole client experience, how we acquire clients, how we underwrite our business, how we are responsive to the marketplace, and all of those things are our playbook for innovation. We have, it's hard work, it's effort, it's time, it's resources, but it's a consistency. I'll call it organized chaos in effect, because to be innovative is also, you really also need to be, in our view, systematic about it. You can't just go at it. You really have to have a sense, what do we want out of this? We want to learn, but we also want to turn it into a monetary outcome at the end of the day. So we have both of those focuses. So anyway, it's across the group, right, in multiple areas, in virtually every place that Munich Re operates.
And you is multi-pronged, as you were referencing. You do investments, you do this partnerships, yep, and you do a lot of things internally. Yep. Thought we could turn to your digital partners program, which is quite extensive. Maybe you can give us some sense of the size of it, but you are offering insurance capacity to dozens of startups, mm-hmm, from auto to home to small business to personal items. How about a sense of what's working, what's not working?
Sure. Digital Partners is one of those groups that has been tasked specifically to work directly in the insurtech space, and they have a global mandate to do that. So it's not just US, it's across the board. Today, they're probably live with something in the range of 18 insurtech partners of different types, of different sorts. It's very early days. We don't publish the numbers. We don't publish results. We purposely don't. It's way too early for that anyway, but there's about 18 live relationships that are going on today. I would say if I think about where they are having probably the most impact, it's probably on the direct-to-consumer business, where we're actually changing the customer experience and getting pretty high scores at that. We feel like that has some legs to it. But also, I would say another area would be sharing economy. This is specifically digital partners. Sharing economy, mostly on the drive share kind of concept. The home share, we also thought would have some growth to it, or I'll say fast growth to it. It actually hasn't grown as fast as the drive share piece. And those are two big component parts. But truth is, it's a big industry, and InsurTech is relatively young. So those are two areas right now, but our sense is we want to have a broad touch point on multiple fronts to see what will work and doesn't work.
Do you think all of those 18 will succeed, or are you prepared for some of them to fail?
I don't think you can think about innovation and everything winning. That would just be the wrong approach. So no, I think statistically we wouldn't expect all of them to either survive. They might morph, they might become something else, but as they exist today, we couldn't expect 18 of them to continue. But there are probably several in there that we think have a good run room in front of them.
Just more generally and outside of Munich Re specifically in your digital partners program, how do you see the wave of insurance tech startups shaking out in the next several years, perhaps? Any views on what types of startups will be left standing, how the landscape will change?
Again, not getting into specific names or specific types of insurtechs. I'd probably say we're seeing, our view is 3 areas that we see as clearly being, having some persistency to them and therefore standing, as you put it, at the end of the day. I'd start with the distribution side, the InsurTech, MGA space, direct-to-consumer and direct-to-consumer through business, so both channels. There are some players there that already have some good history behind them, and our view is that will continue to be, as they perfect that model, our sense is that'll be one of the, now whether it's a specific company or not, I can't answer, but the fact is we think that space will continue to grow and thrive. It's hard for me to think that claims and underwriting both are not going to be, would be pieces that must survive. If you're going to think about disrupting the insurance business, those are the 2 fundamental things that we offer. And I expect that claims will be one of those that will have survivability going forward, as will leaner, more, I'll call smarter, more data-driven underwriting would be 2 pieces that I would say would also survive. And then I think I would turn it to software. And I don't mean just general software for anything, but software like, for example, IoT technology, and software that gives a company a better handle on data and better insights into that data so that the underwriting process, claims process could be better. I put those as the 3 pillars. But again, it's a big industry. There's a relatively young concept of digital, and I would expect that in a couple years from now, if we sit here again, we'd see possibly a different landscape.
Okay. In that landscape, will we see, are the incumbent carriers likely shielded from large-scale disruption, or any of the, might some of the carriers be displaced, or is it a different future for them?
And thanks for that question. I would tell you, when we started down the path of innovation and InsurTech, I would say the buzzword predominantly was the industry is going to be disrupted. The industry is going to be disrupted. I don't share that view. I think for companies like ours and companies that are progressive looking, I think it's going to make us better. I think we're going to be able to leverage InsurTech and technology in ways that make the companies themselves better, more customer focused, more agile, and so on. I don't see it as us being disrupted by the firms that are out there. So now, if you're not paying attention, if you're a company that's not paying attention and thinks that this will all go away, I think you're making a pretty big mistake. But I think if you're engaged and you are looking forward, I think it's going to become much more collaborative. Proof is that when you look at some of the investments in technology or insurtech today, it's largely incumbents that are making these investments. They're all looking at it differently, and they're all looking at what helps their platform and what makes their platform work better. But I think that's how it's really going to work. And truthfully, if you're not partnering with some of these firms, I also think it's going to be pretty tough to try to do it yourself. We're legacy companies that think a certain way, that are built a certain way, and having the magnetism, I'll call it, by partnering with firms that just look at things differently, I think just makes a whole lot of sense. So I think of it more collaborative. I don't think the industry goes away. Who would want to come into the risk business when there are other ways of making money? The technology side is a great enhancer to that platform. So I think it's two companies.
Right. The ROEs in the insurance industry haven't been great in recent years. So it's sort of stepping down.
It is a regulated, and it is a regulated industry.
Oh,
and regulators have not quite come along with the technology and with the needs of innovation. But that's happening as well.
Okay. Given your company's work with connected devices, can you talk about where we are with the smart home in regard to expectations versus reality?
To me, this is an intriguing topic, and so let me start with a statement, I guess. I think connected homes and the whole concept of connected homes will evolve and will become prominent. I truly believe that. A sister company of Munich Re, HSB, did a study with, and I wrote the name down, by the way, because it's just doesn't fall off my tongue. NTT Data Inc. They did an article back in 2007, and in that article they talked about disruption, they talked about IoT, and what will impact the industry. And some of the facts that came, or some of the inputs that came back from that, 50% of people, individuals, will buy sensor-type technology or devices going forward, and that's predominantly the millennials that are driving that concept. 77, it's part of the same survey, 77% of the insurance carriers, this again a year ago, are now thinking about IoT and what it means to them. 74% of those companies believe that IoT will actually improve their operations. And then there's a whole bunch of other statistics about how all of this technology and so on can change. So, but the truth is, if you really look at connected homes today and smart homes, it hasn't moved as fast as we thought it would. But I just think that's a matter of time, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And for some really good reasons, if you think about it. First of all, if you go to any big box store today, like a Home Depot or a Lowe's or something like that, and you go look at the aisles 2 or 3 years ago, you would have saw very few of these devices. Maybe 5 years ago. Let's be realistic. 5 years ago, you would not have seen many of these. And you go in now and you see rows of this stuff. So devices are becoming more and more common. The problem is that means more and more choice. And as a homeowner, you have to sit back and say, well, where do I start with this? What do I invest in? So there's more choice, and I think that choice kind of will slow it up a little bit until there's some common theme. I think the whole concept of protecting the home at the front end is probably going to be the base technology, I think, and then what will happen is as individuals start to select that, I'll call it the protection piece, all of these are built to be able to build on them. So once that's selected, I think then individuals will start to just improve the connectivity around the home. And then I'd also suggest to you that, unless you have an aptitude for it, we used to think that everybody will do it themselves to make these devices work in the home. I think the trend is more about finding a professional that can help you install the device or teach you about the device, and then individuals start to do it themselves. I'm going to monitor it myself. I'm going to expand it myself.
Right.
And all of these things just take time. That's my point here. But I have no doubt in my mind that the connected home will be a thing of the future. Now, for the insurance industry, this is a good thing. But until connectivity and until adoption becomes more prevalent, it really doesn't do much good for the insurance company because you need the data that goes with it. That's part of the reason for the connectivity. How do I do something with this? So we have to get the adoption. I think adoption will come. It's coming slower than we thought. As adoption comes, I think insurance companies could then use that information to make their process, their underwriting, their outcomes better. And one more thing I would say, and that is insurers are still a little clumsy when it comes to this technology. They haven't made it pretty or elegant for the user, so to use in a mobile way. And as that starts to happen, I think you'll get more adoption. So all of these things are coming together, but I have no doubt that it will happen. I forgot, there's a firm that made us, it's just drew a blank on the firm. They did a study and said there will be about 21 billion devices sold by the year 2020. Devices to the consumer, to customers. 60% of those, they say, will be the consumer. So if that's going to happen, you have to believe sooner or later adoption takes place.
Okay. The cyber sort of comes to mind as you're talking about this, because these devices in the homes all have a cyber risk attached to them one way or the other, right? I was hoping you could speak about Munich Re, what you see about the future of cyber insurance, and you've partnered, Hartford Steam Boiler, your unit there, has partnered with some cyber insurance startups. So what is your strategy with regard to cyber insurance, and how important is that going to be?
I think extremely important. If you believe the whole concept of Internet of Things, if you believe the whole concept of connectivity, digital and so on, all of that leads to a bigger and bigger growing exposure, potential exposure in the cyber world. So we believe, across Munich Re, that cyber is a growing exposure that we as an industry need to solve, otherwise it becomes an issue. So there are estimates out there that say the cyber premium volume will grow to in excess of $20 billion in 2020 plus. It's only a third of that today, so that's growth. Now, it's also new risk and new exposure, so we look at it as both a growth opportunity and something we need to be cautious about, because it's also one of those that has lots of different aspects to it, lots of different vectors in that risk scenario, and it changes almost every day. So our approach has been, and so this gets to the partner issue, we also believe we'll never be able to build internal staff alone to address this risk. We need to partner. And if you look out there at the in tech firms that are focusing on cyber, they go across the board. Long story short, we believe it's a growth area. We believe we should proceed with caution. We think, and we have started to partner with external firms to give us different parts of the equation that we can solve for, make us smarter, make our clients smarter, allow us to address this risk in a responsible way, but we will be a lead player in it.
Tony, time has flown, and we
Really
have
fast.
a minute and 30 seconds left, and
Oh,
we
boy.
want to play the game of overrated and underrated.
Oh boy.
Okay, and so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 names to go through really quickly here. So the first one is cyber insurance. I mean, we sort of went
So
over
the
that.
question is it overrated or underrated?
Overrated or underrated, cyber insurance.
Underrated. I'm not going to give you a reason. I just think it's
Oh,
underrated.
yeah,
I think there are so many unknowns about it. Underrated.
All right, okay. Lemonade, and we don't mean the drink, of course. So
Well, I thought you did mean the
Yes.
drink. I was okay. Underrated, and whether you believe in lemonade or not, underrated because it's a model change, and the question is, what kind of an impact will it have?
okay. Swiss Re.
Oh, way overrated. Sorry.
Apologies to Swiss Re folks out there. Maybe I'll get a chance to come back on that one. Internet of Things in general.
Underrated. We talked a little bit about the personal side. There's a whole lot going on the commercial industrial side already, and it's only going to continue to grow. And think today about all the retrofitting that has to take place to make this to make this really happen. There's a lot going on. I would say underrated.
Okay, your last one with 3 seconds. Warren Buffett.
Oh, that's a tough one. I'm going to say underrated only because I don't like cherry Coke.
What do you like?
Diet Pepsi.
Okay, very good. All right. So I guess that is it. Thank you.
Thank you.